Good people of the World Wide Web. Welcome to Off the Deep End, a Deep Listens podcast where we explore role-playing video games in depth. Someday we will define role-playing games, I'm sure. Representing the Great Prairie Ridge Fire here out in the American West, I'm Jeff Root. Hello. Joining me representing the 10 Fire, got Bourdain, Arbitrary Water. Redacted. Hello,
the air quality index went over 100 yesterday.
I guess I need to turn on my weather widget. I don't even know where that's hidden now.
I turned it off. It's weird.
News and interest. Show icon and text. Doesn't have the AQI listed for mine, which is weird. It's not that bad here. Also joining us, representing the Danio Fire, Chris, Arbitrary Water Rejected. Not arbitrary water.
I ended up spending over $100 on an air purifier so I wouldn't have to wake up randomly in the morning with my eyes and nose feeling like they are on fire.
I did the move, Chris is zombie pie, by the way, not arbitrary water. I did the move where I went and bought a couple 20 by 20 high density, like small nanoparticle filters that you get for like a home, like a HVAC. And my move is just going to be tape those to a box fan I bought in Idaho, incidentally, because those filters are probably going to disappear let's just say when, I guess, things get bad out here like they did last year. So that's what we got. I ain't got the resources to buy a good air filter, so I'm going to do a ratchet one. That's just how we're going to roll. Yeah. Hello from the American West where it's... I don't know if you if we have a lot of international listeners, but it's quite dry across. I'm going to go ahead and say all of it. If you don't know a lot about America, it's the United States of America is basically divided into thirds by the Rocky Mountain Range and then the Mississippi River, kind of Washington D.C. and like where like most of the population lives is like on the east side of the Mississippi River. Pretty much everything west of that line is in some level of drought right now, and large chunks now west of the Rocky Mountains just catch fire. It used to be kind of a California thing, and they've like California does, it just exported its culture to the rest of us, and now we just all are hot and smoky for several months. Yes,
so,
the heat dome.
Yeah, it's hot, this global warming shit, I'm done with it, but it seems like I'm probably going to have to live with this for the rest of my goddamn life. But also, I'm going to start a new tradition in our group Discord wherein, whenever we record a podcast, I'm going to send Jeff a different clip from the legendary film and work of art, The Pest. Here is a clip from when... John Leguizamo is trying to do his Scotty from Star Trek impression, Jeff.
Okay, I'm
not going to watch this.
I don't know if the audio is going to come through, but I'm going to hit play on this clip.
Strangers. Oh, but
all right.
You seem nice.
So he gets thrown into a limo after groping a pistol.
Best.
And
you're a great disappointment.
An Eastern European man accosts him.
I get that a lot, don't I? Why do you do that impression I like so much?
It's like more Scottish.
Oh, come on, I don't want to.
It's Scottish-Irish, Scot-Irish. Let's go with that. Let's combine two ethnicities.
That's,
I cannot do it.
I'm sorry, is that Harvey Weinstein?
Crystals are breaking up. She's gonna blow.
I have to look this up. That might be Harvey Weinstein.
I think that's Harvey Weinstein. I'm gonna tell you what, if that's not Harvey Weinstein, he should be down on the boardwalk doing a Harvey Weinstein, because that's gonna get over now. The Pest is fucking bad. What's this?
I'm gonna keep.
What's
oh,
this
that's right. This has a Jeffrey Jones is a major character in this movie, so that's like double fucked up.
Yeah, there's a lot of dorkness in that film. A lot of dorkness. Speaking of dorkness, I guess, let's just get everyone's bullshit out of the way before we talk about Grandia. Spoilers, talk about it.
Tell me about your stream!
Yes, streams first.
Great.
You guys are actually out there working.
All right, let me tell you about Konung Legends of the North. It is a Russian CRPG from 1999 developed by 1C Entertainment, or maybe published by them. I don't remember. If you want Baldur's Gate, but 1,000% more Slavic, and also it's kind of an RTS, and also it's kind of a city builder, it's weird. I beat Jedi Outcast.
Yeah, Jedi Outcast actually might be a good game.
Jedi Outcast, still a pretty good game. I'm not going to record a whole podcast on it, but by the end, I was cursing Raven Software's level designers. But, other than that game... There's a Quake engine style of platform game that got created, especially on the PC, that game really represents well. Shooters, back when shooters didn't know any better, they said, let's make this man jump. And, I mean, you can jump real high because you're a Jedi. But
it's the Force. You're forcing your way into the air.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Katarn's back in the canon now. He's canonical in Disney's world.
This is as far as I can
released him.
This is as far as I can go into Star Wars stuff. I bought, without veering into my other thing, I bought some light novels yesterday.
Oh,
and doing that reminded me that I really want to read Needle in the Mind's Eye at some point, which is the...
Splinter of the Mind's Eye, the very first Star Wars novel.
Yeah, it was written right after the first film and was like, I guess it's been thrown into like these are all Star Wars legends now.
It's complicated, and I know you don't want to listen to me talk about it.
But yeah, there's apparently a scene in that book where someone describes, like, uses a metaphor about chickens to Luke Skywalker, to which he responds, "What's a chicken?" Which implies that in the Star Wars universe, chickens exist and Luke Skywalker doesn't know what they are. Just a lot of questions I have. It sounds like my kind of garbage. I read a lot of 70s, like, low fantasy and sci-fi shit. So, that sounds delicious. That's what I think about Star Wars. I still need to watch episode 9.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Oh, I do. I know, but I have.
I mean,
have
yes,
to see it.
as a trio of self-destructive misery mongers, yes, you should.
Misery mongers.
Speaking of misery,
yeah, what's your stream?
I was supposed to debut a new series in which I play the adventure games of my childhood, but life got beyond me. We'll learn a little bit more about that in the next podcast. So I wasn't able to start my stream of Indiana Jones and the Fate Atlantis this week. Probably start that next week. I'm looking forward to it. I've been playing Grandia II, which we'll kind of talk about how that is both the best and the worst game to stream to an audience, because you always feel like you can interact with your audience, which is a sign that maybe something might be slightly off kilter in terms of balancing and entertainment. But I've also been playing more Sword Art Online.
Okay.
I've been playing more Sword Art Online.
Explain to me a weeb adjacent but not weeb full the actual relationship between Dot Hack and Sword Art Online, if there is one. Because I understand they're like, I mean, I understand that they're like,
wait, no, I take that back.
Literally
Jeff,
related.
Do you understand what isekai is?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Boy gets trapped into, or girl, in the case of Dot Hack's sign. Plot twist, the main character is actually female. Character gets stuck in video game world, has to get out, fights the creator of video game worlds in which they were trapped into, and bad shit happens, but also we find love in this digital world.
Okay.
That's it. Am I missing anything, Braden?
I've never seen Dot Hack.
Oh, Jesus fuck. What?
I wasn't watching anime in the early 2000s.
Fuck.
I mean, I was watching anime in the early 2000s.
I was watching Toonami
Dragon
stuff.
Ball Z. And that was it.
Dot Hack was on Dragon Ball Z or the Toonami block. What are you talking about?
It was on Adult Swim.
Oh, that's fucking right. Because it was too dark.
Too dark for
whatever.
our precious 4 kids' eyes.
This game is so bad that Braden has repeatedly said, if you continue to make me watch this, you're going to have to pay me money.
The opposite of
the SAO game is bad.
I'm going to finish it. I'm halfway done. I can't not finish it. I'm in too deep, Braden. I'm in too deep. We saw those girls put on those cat girl ears, and there's apparently a hot springs scene that we have still not seen. I'm guessing we get through the desert level. That's going to have the bikini beach scene. And then after that, we're going to go to a snow level where there will obviously be a hot spring scene. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking.
If you want one way to make me like ritually sever myself from anime, just make me watch a bunch of beach and onsen scenes in a row.
Hell yeah.
And just watch as the dagger comes closer and closer to my heart.
It's a literal sword of Damocles.
It's a sort of, oh, whoops, accidentally stumbled into the girls when they were bathing during lady bathing time, and then they throw the buckets at you, and it's very funny and comical.
It's a sword, but
Isn't
the
it
sword's
great
just
how
a big old throbbing spear instead of a sword, because it's Japan. Haha.
Isn't it always funny how the characters always seem to mix up when is women's bathing time and when is men's bathing time?
Yeah. I mean, the words sound almost exactly the same in Japanese. Like, I can't emphasize this enough. They don't sound the same.
I haven't watched anime in 4 months. So watching you torture yourself is the only drip feed I get.
Yeah. Looking forward to Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. I'm probably going to play that. And then I'm thinking of playing The Longest Journey because I love that series. I'm going to do that after the Fate of Atlantis.
It's probably the best Norwegian video game ever made. Probably.
Yeah, and I'm a bit of a stan of the second game. I
think Age of Wonders is from Norway, so I might disagree with that.
Is it? I know Den Reiste Lengst is from Norway, and they're quite proud of it.
Editor's note. Vi beklager våre norske venner. Selvfølgelig er navnet på denne spillet på norsk Den lengste reisen. Sjef vil ta seg kaffe før han tar opp neste episode. Unnskyld.
Hold on, let me see if Triumph Studios is from Norway.
Oh, shit. We accidentally got Jeff talking about his heritage.
Yeah, oh boy.
Norwegian.
If you want me to talk about my heritage, it's just Triumph Studios is Dutch. So they're from the Netherlands, not Norway.
We don't trust those anyway.
Talk about the Kalmar Union, Jeff.
I will not talk about the Kalmar Union. I saw Roadrunner last night.
I have been thinking about watching Roadrunner, and then all this deep fake shit happened, and now I don't know if I feel comfortable watching it.
So, to start there, I have personal qualms about it too. I think it's actually kind of an ick, ghoulish I have the same qualms about that I have with putting CGI Carrie Fisher in Star Wars after she died, I guess, which is just let the dead be. Just let them be, please. Particularly, I guess not to get too grim, but someone who more or less elected to die, to be blunt about it. Just let him be. It's okay. We don't.
Is this the Anthony Bourdain?
Yes, yeah. It's a biopic about Anthony Bourdain. So,
yes, that they deep faked his voice to read a quote.
Yeah,
real dark.
I don't think it was necessary. I don't think.
But I hear
the
actual documentary itself is good.
It's pretty good. I think there is a critique of that film that there is some sour grapes coming from people who were around him at the end of his life. My life has a there's been suicide around me. My best friend committed suicide. My partner's best friend committed suicide. People who are in a place where that's on the table tend to not be particularly well or fun to be around. So, I don't know. That I think it's a realistic, rough conversations about Anthony Bourdain and the fact that, like, yeah, you know what? Towards the end of his life, he was, like, pretty rough to be around at times. And, like, even prior to that, he was kind of rough to be around at times because he was dealing with a lot of things in his head. So it's not a particularly fun watch. Towards the end, you see some, like, of the ugly. Whereas I think the other film this person is, like, known for, which was the, like, Fred Rogers documentary, Won't You Be My Neighbor, or something like that. Fred Rogers is kind of, like, a very easy person to sanctify, because I think, in fact, he was kind of good and did
He was kind of maybe,
things.
like, one of the best people ever.
Yeah, Anthony Bourdain was not, and I don't think ever really aspired to be, and I think knew that about himself. The thing that I think the film should have done, and didn't for a variety of reasons, was talk a little about how complicated the actual end of his life was, which isn't to say I think they should talk about the mechanics of suicide, because no. I'm talking about the kind of muddy Me Too last marriage of his life mess wound up turning into at the very end. There's circumstantial reason to believe he at least knew about, if not was party to, what amounts to hush money payments being paid to someone who that his wife sexually assaulted, which is like, okay, that's why. Ooh. So they don't interview his third wife, who has denied these allegations, I guess it should be noted. But the film kind of goes at length to maybe... She does not look very good by the end of this film, so I can understand why she did not want to show up. But at the same time, they gently allude to enough stuff that's like, there's a hole here. Why didn't she just discuss this openly in this documentary talking about this complicated man's life? So I think they kind of do something of a disservice by walking around some of that shit.
Yeah.
But
it kind of reminds me of some of the episodes of Dark Side of the Ring, especially like The Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah. Yep.
The Ultimate Warrior's documentary on Dark Side of the Ring is good, except for the fact that it's to both sides, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, let's make no qualms about it. He was a homophobe and a piece of shit. And
yeah, I think if it hadn't been so like he showed up again, he seemed like in good spirits. He did a nice appearance. He gave a speech. He got on a plane and then he died. Like literally, that was what happened. Like that's kind of a remarkable story in and of itself, I guess. But there's a lot of dirt that covers up. Like, yeah.
Anyways.
Yes.
Grandia II.
Grandia II.
Speaking
guys,
of...
how did you feel about murdering a child?
Before we murder the child, if you would like to be part of these
capitalist.
if you would like to be a part of pun discussions about Roadrunner or allegations of hush money payments or me trying to convince you to watch sumo or Sword Art Online, I guess you can.
Don't consume Sword Art Online. Stand for good.
be a good person. All you need to do is check out patreon.com/deeplistens. That's patreon.com/deeplistens. Patreon.com/deeplistens. We'd like to thank everyone who's actually already contributing. You're helping to keep the lights on here at Deep Listens Central. And yeah, kicking in any amount of money will get you access to a super secret Discord where we tend to be hanging out. I will be swapping in cool clips of sumo probably as we go because I am just filthy fucking addicted to the thing. And, if that's not quite where you're at, but you'd still like to engage with the show, you can. You can send us electronic mail to inquiries@deep.lol. That is inquiries@deep.lol. And you can be like Joe Brown.
Wait, we got an email?
We've had one. I've been sitting on this for a little bit. Joe Brown sent us in an email, I think, at the end of our Zeno Saga arc. Or I think this was actually at the end of the Kusoga episode. This would have been late June. With some recommendations. I'm gonna scan through these real quick for us. Suggestions for you. Tecmo Secret of the Stars. At the start of the game, you jump out of bed, fight your cat, who talks and is evil, and then go fight Dr. Frankenstein before flying away in a helicopter as the small island you live in on explodes. This was my first RPG, and I remember it being very old at my video store. The shit looks whack. Now do I feel like getting The Secret of the Stars or Barkley Shut Up and Jam for my 8th weekend in a row. It's like a rental concern. Plays like a Vietnamese bootleg of a Hong Kong bootleg of a Brazilian bootleg of an RPG.
Oh.
Fire Pro Wrestling G, the story mode. I'm very much if it's got stats, it's an RPG person. That's where I fall. This game has an insanely deep story mode where the kind of character you create determines how long your career goes.
Is this the one that Suda wrote?
I think so. I think this is the Suda one.
Oh, this
is the one.
Yes.
This is I'm down with including that on the list. Yeah, that I have played that game as a fan translation. Holy shit, Suda does not hold back. That shit gets dark.
Did he write that one, or did he write the third bout one? I'm gonna look this up right now.
He came back, I seem to recall, to write one of the more modern ones, or like a side quest thing. But yeah.
Fire Pro Wrestling G story mode. Wrestling G was a PS1 game, not a SNES game, which I think is the one he wrote. But
definitely write the one that Suda wrote.
Yeah. Or this, but this has got stats. Do you contend with deep moral consequences, such as, do you go to America to hang out with not Hulk Hogan, or do you try to do 5-star matches and chill with not Misawa? A lot of people say that the 6-man scramble on the Saturn is better, but I've always liked this one more. Also got here, Smackdown Here Comes the Pain. Just says, see above. This has an awesome campaign mode where you walk around backstage and try to get Rob Van Dam to go on a date with you. So in addition to stats, it also has dating game elements, which makes it an RPG. I like that. And then Galarians is the last thing he has listed.
Oh, no.
Yeah. It's just PlayStation RPG survival horror hybrid. I remember
hearing about Galarians from a certain Moon King.
It's a fucking weird game. There's a sequel on the PS2 that had a huge cross-promotion tie-in with the new metal band Korn. Oh, wait. Trag is the last thing listed here? It just says anime Die Hard.
Galarians or Galarants?
Galarians.
Galarians Ash?
It's just listed as Galarians.
I think I might have played the sequel instead of the first game, and that explains why I didn't like it. Anyways, we'll consider it. Yeah, your little psychic power amnesia boy.
Honestly, Secret of the Stars is like dimly been on my radar for a while, but yeah. No one has talked about that fucking thing, So
I think maybe we throw in Secret of the Stars as a Kusoge pick, or...
Oh, I don't know. I might go buck wild with that. Joe.
We'll have to see and check it out.
Thank you for the suggestions, and thank you for listening. You are good. We like you. And, thanks for the child tax credits. That's cool, too. Just saying, I've never seen Joe and President Joe Biden write me an email at the same time. Like it might be an alt.
Grandia II.
So, when we last left Grandia II, what was happening?
We entered the gates of Liligue City. I think that's how it's pronounced.
Yeah,
I'm not quite sure. We had gone on a heroic adventure, a call to adventure, in which our protagonist, Shitboy, Shitstain, Ryudo, is some sort of Ronin type character in which he travels the world and completes tasks, odds and ends, usually protects people for monies. He needs to deliver a shrine maiden girl to another location because the devil's inside her. The devil that is inside her happens to also be the wings of an evil devil spirit, but also is a very tart booby
Sassy
chesty
lady.
A sassy
lady.
Devil lady.
We pick up a little boy along the way who's traveling with some sort of comedy troupe, and he's not the worst character in the game.
It's true. He is not, as previously established, an anime shit boy. According to the anime shit boy rules of conduct.
Yeah, he is a Toboe. You see, I made a Wolf's Rain reference there because I watched an anime. Because I'm broken now.
Ron is basically Miles Prower from the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise.
Yeah.
He's the science boy.
He is a plucky Muppet.
He's a plucky Muppet that knows a lot about science and stuff, but he conveniently doesn't know a lot. It's almost like foreshadowing. He conveniently doesn't know a lot about the history of the world, or at least this continent, its social customs, and its way of going about its business, which I think is foreshadowing that he's not from here.
Yeah, who could say?
Who could say?
So we gathered this kind of motley crew. Also, we pick up a furry. I forgot about that. Who mentions Ryudo's brother's name?
Yep.
But he's a nice furry dude, and so that's always fun.
Mareg is his high wisdom, low int.
Yeah.
Well, actually, he's not stupid, but he's very much like the river flows where the river.
We need to talk about how Japan has this notion of the noble savage that.
Yes.
It's never quite unlearned.
I'm trying to remember the name of the... it's Tommy Hill. It's a hawk. He is the hawk character from Twin Peaks. Just like, occasionally just, it's like, yeah, like the moon rises as the sun sets. Like, it's time for us to go to the inn. Like, speaks in these really fucking pained nature metaphors endlessly. Which is like, I don't know if the... inflection point is like say like Taoist priest in like the mountain or whatever, just like being tedious, or like noble savage shit. But it does great.
That's something.
Yeah.
It's something you have to contend with. It's not necessarily the worst. It's just
he's at least not like a
caricature.
Yeah,
well, he is kind of a caricature, but he's not a racist caricature.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know, he's at least like empathetic, and
he's no worse than, say, Red 13.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's fair.
In fact, he feels like more of a character than Red 13. Did I just trigger Jeff?
It's a weird quartet.
Red 13 in Final Fantasy VII Remake is just a button that you click to go throw switches.
I knew I was going to trigger Jeff.
I mean, I could kind of give a fuck, but let me tell you, the person I was playing that game with was howling. What the fuck?
Anyway, so you have to deliver girl to Pope.
Anime Pope.
Anime Pope.
And you got to cross this gorge.
Yeah, a big
gorge. So
gorge.
this is when the game starts to do some lore dumping on you.
Sure. It gets into why is this gorge here, ZP?
There was a battle. There was a battle of good and evil. And on one side you had Granas, who took his saber and slashed and almost, I think, slayed Valmar. And then the saber hit the earth and created this giant chasm. Again, I mentioned in the previous episode that I swear I can't find it anymore, but I believe that the producers and the writers here said that they were more inspired by Zoroastrianism and Manichaeanism. And it's whenever you have these lectures about the religious functions of this world where I feel like those influences really show, because this very kind of, dark versus evil, dark versus light, good versus evil notion is very, very, very Zoroastrianist inspired.
Yeah. Very light on dark.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a little bit of Taoism.
Yeah. Yeah. That too.
With the way things are portrayed.
I like the look of this game. I'm starting to warm up with how this game looks in exterior environments. But when we get to Ligue City, we start to spend a lot more time in underground environments. And as I said last time, I feel like the underground dungeons are far worse than the exterior environments. They're very monotonous. They have little breadcrumby things, as Jeff said last time, that you can kind of follow. But they're just, the interactivity of those environments is just not good.
Yeah, you get your, and it's weird because it's not like or maybe we're being set up for it. I don't know. But you'll get, let's say each one of these tunnel sections is like between 10 and 20 minutes long if you just cruise. And then they sort of, at the end, do the Skyrim thing where they double back ever so slightly and there'll be like a rock that you can push off a ledge that will allow you to like, oh, now I can just, if I need to back up, I could just go down this rock and it'll take me pretty much to the entrance of the dungeon. And it's like, why?
It's
or
weird.
There'll be like one chest. That's been the other weird thing about the gear in this game. Sometimes this rock I just alluded to will just lead you to a chest that will have 3 seemingly way better pieces of equipment than you already have, which does odd things to the economy of this game, I guess. Because there's also the other main breadcrumb you find is just bags of, frankly, a lot of money.
Yeah, it's
like a lot of money.
And I think there's something to say about the weird perspective work where you have to use a separate analog input to move the camera, which is a very Dreamcast thing. Yeah. Even a PS1 thing.
Like, you can tell that it's the shoulder buttons are the rotate camera, even though I'm using an analog stick.
Yep, it is 100% on them shoulder buttons. The lack of that second stick. And it's weird because there's like...
entrances and exits hidden if you don't move the camera in a specific part of the dungeons. Yeah.
Parts of that game will let you rotate the camera 360 degrees, and then parts of it are way more restrictive, which makes me wonder if they're just like, we just don't need to model the back of these buildings in this town if we just keep the camera this way. Which, whatever, you gotta, pick your battles or whatever.
Speaking of entering the city, you enter Ligue City. You discover that everyone in the city has lost their sense of taste, that they can only eat, the arum root?
Yeah, this gross root.
Which is either poisonous or just disgusting to the point to where these people don't want to eat. Which leads to some funning about when you spend some time at the inn. The characters normally get their usual meal. Instead, they get this arum root.
And so their conversation is just like, bleh, this is terrible. That's good stuff.
You explore the town, and again, like, the NPCs in this game have decent enough kind of connections with what's going on in the story and where you are with the story. I appreciate how the characters will actually respond to the NPCs. I think so often, even way into like Final Fantasy XII, you talk to an NPC and your character doesn't even respond.
Yeah.
Most of the time, Roan, Mareg, Ryudo, Elena, they will respond to characters that you interact with, even if they're throwaway characters that give you a little bit of flavor text. We end up going to the church, I think. No, we end up checking out the leader of the town, who is a Mr. Gadon. And it's here when I have to ask if Mr. Gadon is a racist caricature.
I have no idea.
Because he has big lips, he's got a complexion, and I have to ask if, is Mr. Gadon, I don't know how to say this, a Sambo character? I don't know.
I don't know.
Because I had a real weird time trying to...
To be honest, it was, I think this is a mercy that I'm playing this on the Dreamcast on a CRT, because it was just soft enough that it was kind of hard to make out, but I'm looking at this again, and it's like, okay, I could see why someone would come to that. It sure sticks out a lot more in the remaster version of this, where the art is very cleaned up, I guess. Huh. Yeah, that's maybe not great.
That's maybe not great. Anyways, he is a large person who is obese. He's able to eat whatever the people can't eat. So something's up. Something is up. And the only form of transportation from here to the next location is through a skyway, which Mr. Bourdain says he's going to charge us 10,000 G's with. To which I originally thought was, oh, so we're just going to perform like one mission and call it a day. No. We have to solve the issues of this town. I forget what kind of tips us off to go to the father of the church. We talk to him. People are leaving. And we decide to flip a switch and go under a hatch to go to an ancient part of the town. And then that throws us into our boss dungeon.
Certainly the longest dungeon we've hit so far.
Yeah,
I don't feel like any of these dungeons are super long, though.
They aren't.
But this one,
I guess I'm speaking by JRPG dungeon standards, especially from this period.
That's fair.
I will say that so Mr. Bourdain is the tongue of Valmar. Yeah. When we were done with it with Mr. Bourdain, and we'll get more into like the boss battle and kind of what we think so far of this part of the game, I was kind of like, oh wow, this is really, really quick. Wow, we're going to collect all of these different parts of Valmar, and it's going to go super quick. And then we do the Eyes of Valmar, and it's like, holy shit, this is way longer. Holy fuck. So I guess this is the first true, and I'm putting that in air quotes, dungeon in this game, and boss encounter, like the actual format and the pace of this feels like
and
it's
you got
true.
4 characters, you got your full party.
Right. And again, because they can't have Elena and Millennia available at the same time, I believe they swap out Millennia for this at this point.
Yeah.
When we go into the dungeon.
Yeah, is it right when you get in, or somewhere in the middle? This thing happens when that swap happens, which is very irritating, which is they unequip, not everything, but they unequip the egg.
Tell me about this. Oh my god. And so this leads me to when I started to realize I'm starting to not like the inventory and spell management in this game. So whenever Elena switches to Millennia has none of the equipment, none of the spells. She doesn't even have the fucking egg that you gave to Elena.
You have to re-equip everything, and it takes way longer than it should because the inventory management in this game is like weirdly fiddly.
Not just fiddly, but there are multiple menus that you need to select, right? I mean, equipping your powers is different than equipping your equipment. Like the stuff that you level up
your
in the
passive
spell
skills
books.
And your spells.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to not necessarily sour, but it kind of reminds me of a previous point that I've made. I feel like this game has too many mechanics. Because I don't enjoy leveling up the spell books. I don't enjoy using the multiple currencies. I don't like also needing to buy equipment and then equip my characters with that equipment. And the spell book, like the leveling of the actual spells and abilities, it's obtuse enough to where it's like, well, I've got this missing slot for this screen of the mist egg, and I don't know how to get it.
I think you just need to get them to a high enough level.
But the game doesn't surface that sense of progression enough where I feel like I know how to spend my points.
Yeah, if I recall, it's alluded to in the Dreamcast manual, at least, which is the only reason I think I know that off the top of my head. But yeah, they really don't. And I wonder, so in each one of the shops, there's a little guy with what looks like a checkered race flag over his head, who is a tutorial
Mr.
bot.
Tutorial Man.
Yes. And I wonder if that's something he eventually covers, but it seems like all he really wants to talk about is, like, fighting.
Yeah, he does cover that.
Okay.
I did the tutorial for upgrading your skills and your mana eggs.
All right.
And most of it is just like it doesn't necessarily even make the spells that much more powerful. It's just more like you cast them faster when you upgrade them. And I feel like this goes back to my general philosophical problem with, let's say, late model Final Fantasy games and similar ilk, which is I don't like RPGs where every character is kind of a jack of all trades. Like, I think that kind of ruins the point of the party system when everyone can kind of do anything. And you can kind of specialize with the passive skills, but it doesn't seem to matter
you want
much.
A hard mage, you want a healer or paladin, you want a DPS.
Like, I've kind of been trying to push against you really can just kind of make these whatever and lean in. Like, I've dumped a lot of the hit point skill stuff onto Mareg and tried to just make him be the, like, hit point box. And then all of the speed and attack stuff I've been dumping onto Shitboy. But then you've got two mages that it's like, okay, which one of these is going to specialize in, like, offense and defense stuff? And it's like, I guess this is just a choice I don't really have to make, but I'm making it anyway. Like, just because I don't want to.
You're playing your own game.
Yeah.
I think the thing that really came to me during this segment of the game is that this game is real fucking easy, and I wish I had played on hard.
Yeah.
And that wasn't even an option for the version I'm playing, but beyond...
They added it in the HD re-release.
Beyond a couple little spikes, I've just been rolling shit. Like, unbelievable cakewalk stuff through this game. It's fights don't take particularly long. Once you grok the, like, keeping people locked down and unable to attack you, it just, you just beat the piss out of stuff.
I actually don't even feel like I'm stun locking as many characters as I used to when I started to unlock AoE versions of spells. It's just like, I could go through the process of identifying which character here I need to cancel and then stun lock. I'm just going to drop an AoE fireball. Everybody's dead. Cool. Sure. Let's move on to the next battle.
Which, like, the natural knob on that most RPGs have is like, well, there's like a limit to the amount of MP or whatever resource you have. But this game, when you hit save crystal equivalents, they just refill all of that. And they're pretty generous with those save points. Yes. So you can just, cakewalk your way, save point to save point, turn around, blow stuff up until you're out of MP, which takes a while, because spells aren't super expensive, and then just go stock, like, it's weird. The balance, and far be it for me to complain that, like, wow, I'm gonna get through this game probably without a problem. Like, oh no, how dare they make a game fun and easy to beat. Yeah. But
it sounds like even at the time, this game was considered real easy.
Yeah, there are worse things I could throw at a game, I guess. But if you are looking for a challenge, if you're looking for this game to push back at all, you should probably get the HD version of this and play it on hard mode.
Yeah. But anyways, you go through this dungeon, the Liligue Caves. I think that this was an environment that reminded me, because you got a bunch of bugs. It's funny that dealing with like 6 or 7 little shits is 1,000 times harder than dealing with a giant boss.
Yeah.
Especially when those little shits have mobility. Just like getting them to glob up, getting them in one spot, accidentally overtaxing the movement of your characters. That's way harder to deal with than a giant boss with a lol laser.
Yeah. They the thing that gets irritating with these fights is the stat and movement things that they do. Not status stuff rather. I think this is the dungeon where they start using gravity spells to start shifting you around, which you're like, okay, well, who gives a shit? Well, when you select an enemy to attack, the full course of that attack is run to that enemy and then attack, which if the enemy has moved, or if you've been moved halfway across the battlefield, it then takes you like 3 times as long to get to a point where you could connect. So you start having spatial considerations, not to the point where I've ever done the like move my character deliberately ability. I've never selected that. Yeah.
And I've never used the buff spell that increases movement speed.
I have, and I'm sure it's making a difference, but it's not like the fights are that much faster when I do that, because I'm still going to win. This isn't a matter of me like, oh shit, now I'm actually in peril. It's just you've extended this fight by about 5 or 10 seconds, and I got places to go. It's just a weird feeling.
The ghouls in this dungeon definitely were the first, because they're the ones that can cast gravity, that weird ice pick attack, and then also drain your HP and put it into themselves.
Yeah.
The vampirism ability. But there's some sort of like rock, paper, scissors elemental system here. I felt like all of the characters in this dungeon were like ice or water themed, so fire seemed to work real well here.
Mm-hmm.
And fire conveniently works real well in the next environment.
Yeah, and as you said, the once you start going down the pouring in your, I guess, special or magic coins, I guess it's magic coins, onto the eggs to unlock the AoE versions of spells, you can kind of turn the tables on fights, because you can set off big AoE attacks, and then you can use gravity abilities on the enemies, so if they're all spread out, you can clump them all together and then AoE them to death very neatly. I haven't had to do the gravity to AoE thing that often, but there's been times where it's been pretty useful. So that feels good.
I've had some decent success in terms of like inflicting negative status effects on enemies, especially things like sleep.
Yeah, man.
Because sleep doesn't have a cone. It just inflicts automatically on everyone.
Yes, and it's cheap as shit. It's like 5 MP.
Yep, and Elena has a special ability that does sleep and damage.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Which isn't that much more expensive.
Any RPG where status effects actually matter gets a thumbs up in my book.
I just wish that the icon system was a little bit better. Yeah. I mean, I had to download the PDF version of the guide for this game just because it's like, I got a mushroom. I'm going to assume that's poison. Now I've got a skull face. No idea what that is.
Yeah. In some sense, I think their hands are kind of bound, because it's like, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what I hear you saying is, I just want these to be the Final Fantasy icons, which, hey, I do too, because I would just know immediately what those meant. But
the game does give you, I feel like, just as an effective version of Esuna, where you can just like Roan has that one ability, that special ability, where it's like, click this button and all your status effects go away.
Yeah, between Rowan's inherent ability to do that, and then there's 2 very good party heal abilities. One of them is there's an item which is like very shockingly cheap, which does 250 HP a pop, and then you have an ability where you can increase the speed at which a character uses items.
What was it? Was it AI health or Al health?
All health, I think, or all heal. Is the spell. Heal. And that is a very cheap spell, and it heals everyone for pretty much their full hit bar. And
it's cheaper than the higher level of heal, which was weird to me.
Yeah, it makes no sense. Like, why would you make that so cheap? It's bizarre, and like, hey, I'm gonna use it, thank you, but it's a choice, I guess. Just strange balance, I guess.
Yeah.
And like
they have a lot to work with, and I get the sense that sometimes, some things slip through the cracks.
But yeah, this dungeon, you kind of deal with these quasi-irritating bugs, and then the boss fight is against a mouth man? Man-mouth?
A millipede mouth thing?
Yeah.
I feel like this is far less effective in terms of connecting it to the idea of a tongue than the next boss after this. It's just like a millipede boss thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, when you are up against one target, it is so much easier to stun lock it and use the mechanics against that boss target. Although this game kind of gets around that with these Valmar bosses in that they have different body parts that all act independently.
Yeah.
So it has like a hand, a left hand, a right hand, a head, a tongue.
Yeah. You still have the ability to AoE all of that shit. But they're not nearly as, irritating as the next boss you fight. This was a pretty, I guess I liked the design, I guess. This was also where I think this was maybe the first fight that triggered, because at this point Millennia's in your party, not, the gal. Her, Uzaru mode or whatever the fuck. Her
God, her rage mechanic is the worst.
Yeah, it's pretty irritating.
So, and
Millennia
has a thing
really
where
opaque, too.
My problem is that she uses her I got some real serious Persona 3 flashbacks of Mitsuru casting Mirren Kieran. And it's like, fuck, what are you doing? No,
this is not the move right now, my friend. What do we do? Yes,
and it's just like, I don't know. So she always prefers to cast Fallen Wings, which is the spell that she casts in order to see her little cutesy anime cutscene. Which again, in the HD remasters, they take those 3x4 animations and then stretch them across a widescreen, and you have to live with the consequences.
It looks real janky.
Millennia replaces Elena, who I guess kind of sort of is a mage, but you can spec her to be whatever you want. It's just her weapon is is poorly equipped to deal with, DPS damage, but she does a crossbow, and there are times when, she needs to attack distance-wise. Instead, she's just popping off these weird, status effects. And she even uses items when she's raged, which pisses me off to no end.
She hasn't done that on me. God. That's the thing. I have a shitload of items, too, because I have too much fucking money. So,
I guess in theory, you could use the insecticide bomb on this boss because it's technically a bug class, and that's actually how I just whittled away on it in a minimal amount of times. But yeah, I don't know, man. So he'd die. He
falls comatose, and they're like, "Oh, what happened?"
He falls comatose, and I think Millennia eats his soul.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then she winks and waves at you and then transforms back into Elena.
Yeah, who does the whole, what happened?
What happened?
Yeah. Song and dance.
Then we have probably one of the more awkward scenes. Is this the part where we stick around in town and then... No, I'm thinking of a different scene. So I was wondering, is this the scene where Elena asks you to kill her?
No.
I think that's later.
No, that's the next town.
Yeah.
That's the next town. Okay.
Yeah. Sigh. So the game very clearly now is in a monster of the week crease sort of thing. The structure of the game for the next foreseeable future is pretty go to town. There is a problem in the town. Take care of the problem in the town. Move on. And what follows between this and that, I guess, is an interstitial area called the Lumiere Forest, which ends in another cavern. Nothing about these places sticks out in my memory at all.
Nope. They are interstitial areas.
Yeah, which is maybe a waste, I guess. I don't know. And all this, and it's weird because, again, the actual meta structure of this game is finish stuff in whatever area you're in, walk out of the town gate, go back to let's say a 1024 by 1024 PNG compressed down to fit on a Dreamcast with some default Dreamcast text laid over it that just says name of town that you scroll an icon to and then select that. And only options available are places you've been or the place you need to go now. So once you finish Liliu City, you see the Lumiere Forest selectable on this map. Okay, we're you know what we're missing? We're missing that you go on the Skytrain. That's what's up here.
That's the Skytrain.
Yes.
Yeah.
Evil Moon, Brother Moon. No, wait, that's a different town, or that's a different game.
Brother. That's a different game too. Yeah. So you hop on the Skytrain. You're just like given permission to go. Everyone can taste stuff again, and everyone's like, "Wow, food's great," but I'm just going to keep working here because I'm a capitalist and I have ingrained capitalist tendencies in my head. And you're kind of like, "That's lamentable. Let's go." You hop on this train, which, when you describe this, it sounds very high steampunk fantasy, whatever the fuck. It's like, it's a big train on a set of, sky rails that goes over a giant canyon made by two gods fighting. It's like, wow, that's the scale. And then the way it plays out, it looks very much more like a Dreamcast game done on feels very small. Feels very humble.
This was the point where I'm like, oh, this is a one-disc video. This is a one-disc JRPG.
Yeah.
Maybe is like a weird slight against it, because I feel like, the power of the GD-ROM, it's worth like 2 PlayStation 1 CDs, really.
But it's not. 1.2? 1.2, I think. I'm not going to.
No, you did the
edit in. You already should know this.
984
it's under a
megs,
gig.
I think. Yeah, under a gig.
Yeah.
Just so like 1.3 CDs or something. I'm not editing that. Yeah, like the Final Fantasy version of this is like a 2-minute long cutscene that they compressed onto a disc that takes up like, a fifth of the disc space, and they're just like, fuck it, 4 CDs of this one, who cares?
We get some good Ryudo quotes. I wrote some down. Here, wait. Let me say some of my Ryudo quotes that I noticed in the Skytrain scene.
Sure. To set the mise-en-scène for these quotes, too. It's like, Skytrain, is it like a cool, does it look like a Zeppelin in there? No, it looks like a warehouse, like an empty warehouse with some boxes in it.
And they just sit on the floor.
They're just sitting on the floor.
Yeah. Okay. Here's one quote. Altruism is just my gig. Whatever, let's go. I think some kittens are stuck in some nearby trees. Kid, there's going to be one wandering spirit here real soon if you don't learn how to shut your mouth. And that's all I got.
I like the threat of violence against this child.
A literal child.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then an evil moon pops up, and then it destroys the train, which... everyone seems to know what this moon represents. So how this train is not built to deal with something that apparently everyone is aware of. Whatever. We come crashing to the ground. Everyone convenient to the story survives. And there's a weird scene in which Elena encounters a mirror that fell down and then did not break when it landed on the ground, and then talks to Millennia. And then this is when the characters realize that Millennia is inside Elena, despite the fact that this has been communicated to them 11 billion times.
Yeah, it's in fact quite clear. Like, there's no mystery at all. It's not subtext that this has happened.
This devil lady is inside you. Now, the weird thing is, and we've kind of been hinting, we're coming up to the snow-themed level here. The one consequence of that is fire works really well here. And that completely obliviates any semblance of difficulty with this snow. Like, whenever you got those Bigfoot-looking motherfuckers, it's a GG, especially if you were able to get into a battle with them with advantage or initiative. it's like, I'm just going to pop a fucking fire spell and be done with this battle and move on with my life.
Yeah, just harvesting endless money, and then just, and it creates this fun feedback loop because it's just giving you more magic coins to dump into the magic spells that are pertinent in that area. So, and there's no way that this wasn't done unintentionally because it's so clear, like the route through this that is like path of least resistance-ish. But boy, it leads to just, all right, well, like, and I have this tendency where it's like, if there is, and this is the thing the game does, there's not random fights, there's just things out in the world, which leads me to think, okay, well, this is how much experience they want me to have then, is just rock all these fights pretty quick. So you just churn through, like, the 6 fights or whatever that are on, like, the map you're on, and then go to the next little map, and this all takes 10, 20 minutes, like, it quick. This is the meta critique, I guess, at this point. Everything starts to feel kind of the same. Like, new area, clear the map, takes 10 or 20 minutes, go to the new section, 20 minutes, go to the new section. Town has kind of similar problems. Oh, go into the dungeon. It's about 10 or 20 minutes. Oh, it's solved it, do the spells. Am I critiquing JRPGs? I don't think I am, necessarily. There's just kind of a lack of variety at this point.
Specifically, your problems would be a lot more alleviated if the moment-to-moment gameplay did not feel like the most mundane dungeon crawling, which is, once again, another just a difficulty hang-up. Because I think the character writing is pretty sharp. Mm-hmm. Like, there's definitely a little bit of, like, I wonder how close this script is to the original Japanese, because it's got some fun embellishments that feel, like I believe, as we said last podcast, working designs adjacent.
Yeah, there's a pederasty joke coming up that's pretty funny, I thought, which is weird.
Yeah, whenever these characters sit down and you have an opportunity to have them all talk to each other, I exhaust every avenue. I never feel motivated to speed through it because I like seeing these characters just shoot the shit with each other.
It is cool. I do kind of wish that, this is a quibble, those conversations happened in like a order, because I do feel like I'm just kind of clicking through all 4 of them, and then like the responses are to things that happened 2 characters ago sometimes. Like, it just feels like a conversation's like, it's like Sims talking instead of people, I guess. Again, The solution is have them do like a Tales-style skit or whatever. Yeah. Or sketch, I guess, but it's still pretty endearing, I guess. I'm glad it is there, and I prefer it to the Final Fantasy mode of just everyone stand around and walk to them and they say one thing.
So while we're going through this, this is where we kind of get our little lecture about the Grana Cliffs and the legendary battle of good versus evil. But anyways, encounter creepy girl in her little magical land.
There's a creepy little girl in a creepy flower meadow.
And it's cool because it just kind of happens, and you're like, oh, am I supposed to be here? Yet this seems disconnected from what has been happening in this snowy area in a way that makes me feel like, oh, I was supposed to come back here later. Which I guess is kind of clever. But yeah, she's a creepy little girl, and she wants you to stay in her magical land of flowers and shit forever, which you can then just leave.
She's worried about Elena eating her.
Yes.
She says, "Don't eat me, miss." To which Ryudo has probably the best quote yet. He says, "Don't eat me? Well, you have been putting on a few pounds. You have to see it from her point of view."
Which is cool, because it's fun to pick on people for how they look. That's really good.
Ryudo, he's a dick with a heart of gold, or so.
He's such a dick. I love it. There's a weird, like, so we're basically in this world's version of Mount Everest. Like, the Grana Cliffs are this magnificent physical or geographical feature, and then we come to this town, and there's like a weird water shell motif in the town.
Like, all of the buildings are built with shells.
And then they have the weird, like, turd-looking shells that look like they've got spikes on it. It's like, that's a fucking hazard. Don't get drunk in this town, otherwise you might get impaled.
You know, it's like, what's valuable to a culture, right? Like, coppery shells around the Atlantic basin are used as currency, or were classically used as currency, because they were kind of rare, you know? So maybe shells are highly valued up in the mountains because there's not a lot of them. Or, you know, assuming that there were, like, tectonic effects in this world, maybe there's just a huge deposit of old shells that have been fossilized, and they're just a really good building material, huh?
I like to think that this is the logical sequel to Demolition Man, and the shells, this is where you find out how to use the 3 shells.
It's in one of the books. Which you can't... that's the other thing. I guess I keep going into every house in this game hoping they do the Dragon Quest thing.
Oh, no. And Jeff, did you not get to the Pope part? There's definitely a part where they're like, there are 8 books here. Please read them if you want to learn the lore.
Yeah, they finally started doing it. But in the individual houses, what you get is not like, check the dressers and here's a hero medal or whatever. You do occasionally get a, like, if you bump into this pot, it will rattle around. Or if you walk near the pet in this house, it will scamper away. Which is kind of cool, and it's lightly interactive, but there's nothing to, like, find, I guess.
I actually love this game for not making me feel like I missed something, checking some sort of obtuse corner to this house. I actually like the fact that I don't have to worry about perusing every single iota of every single environment.
Yes, that's reasonable. I'm broken.
Anyways, so this town is afflicted with a different type of curse. Everyone's fallen asleep, or a large portion of the village population has fallen asleep. Curiously, starting out with the children, and slowly but surely, the adults even are afflicted by this sleeping sickness. We learn that from the mayor that they are surprised that we are not the people that they requested from the church. Foreshadowing for a character that we are about to encounter. Decide to check out, like, one of the kids who's sleeping, and then we spend the night.
And then...
That's when my first prediction came true.
Eyeballs.
Creepy eyeballs.
Hell yeah.
Creepy eyeball monsters. And then you go down into this fissure, which is another kind of boring underground dungeon. And you fight these 4 eyeball bats that suck. They're fast,
bastards.
And, like, once again, one of the few times where the combat in this game is remotely challenging, in as much as I had to revive characters.
Yeah, because not only do they move around fast, so is that it's actually hard to plan your moves. Like, I had a couple of cases where
fast initiative.
I had a character queue up a critical attack to cancel them, but then they move very fast on the continuum, and by the time it was that character's turn to attack said eyeball, they were already so far away that they overextended their movement range and couldn't actually get their move in.
Yeah.
And you can't even plan some of the spells because they're target specific, so you end up using this expensive AoE fire spell, and whoops-a-daisy, you only hit one because they spread apart. But the real piece of shit about this boss, or mini boss, I guess, is that these eyeballs can do some sort of Voltron shit.
Yeah.
And they combine their powers to
Delta
then afflict
attack.
you with like an eyeball laser beam. And that's a real dick move.
And then, so everyone, you go back and, I guess
find out that the little girl's mom is accused of witchcraft because she was blind, but now she can see. And so there's this weird element of this community is turning on this poor family because a miracle has happened and now everyone else is getting all fucked up. And then the church people arrive after you beat these eyeballs.
And they are just the most
grandstanding,
the most lawful evil, purge the heretics.
It's like, we're going to get full-on witches on the stake, burn everything down. And you even learn from, like, previous or certain characters that, this is the lady who burned an entire town down to kill the evil.
The Temple Knights are bad.
Yeah, they are.
Like, maybe Granus isn't as good a guy as we think.
And like low-key, everyone's also like, yeah, but I want the lady to ruin my life though. Like, they're like, wow, she's so beautiful, and yet she seems so scary at the same time. Like, everyone's commenting on, like, the hot anime lady who murders people. Her name is Selena.
Selena has that just that.
All the people
hunter.
just say, like, I would do anything for Selena, which is a fun reference to the film Selena, for those curious. Anyway. No one? Okay, moving on.
Okay, moving on. They can't always hit, Jeff.
I tried. So she rolls in. It's like, well, I guess if you can all just turn over your own, and I'll kill one of them, or I could kill all of you, more or less. That's the implied threat here. Anyway, God's cool. And Rito is very tactful about this, as he is with all things that have to do with, let's say, women or religion or structure at all.
Yep.
At some point, he's just like, no, well, this later on, but he's just like, fine, like, I'm a heretic. I hate you. I hate God. I hate religion. I hate all of it. What are you going to do? Like, very, very direct. But you're like, wow, we should probably do something to keep this lady from just murdering all of the citizens of this town, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Which leads to you striking down where these eyes come from. In the cave you already were in, but in another part.
Yeah, you got to do so much backtracking here.
There's a shortcut.
There is a shortcut.
Oh yeah, Arya's little shed.
Yep. And then you go into her heart.
Yes.
Millennia opens a portal to let you see into the little girl's heart.
And we get some pretty strong
storytelling here.
Storytelling, and also we get some, like, I feel like the Boss Baby meme, but, like, getting some Persona vibes here. But, like, no, really, kinda. Like, the music gets a little, like, Meguro-esque, and the environment gets kind of, like, neat-looking, fucked up.
Yeah.
And non-Euclidean, I guess, compared to everything else you've been in.
Yeah.
Like, it's an interesting environment with trivial combat again.
Dream whale. You ride a dream whale.
You do.
You ride a dream whale, to which Ryudo says, when did this get so metaphysical? To which I say, that's not what that word means, but I get the spirit.
And then you get to the second area of the dream world, and it's just eyeballs and shit everywhere. It's
so good.
Gross.
It's like, this is like, if you want in a nutshell what I think Dreamcast level design looks like, this is it. This is the full, like, plop your ass on the face. Like, this is it. This is it.
Yeah. It's like this and, like, Pen Triathlon and, like, LOL Lack of Love. And, Blue Sub 6, that Blue Sub 6 game on the Dreamcast is one that comes to mind for me a lot. Like, it's very clean, but not super detailed world, I guess. I don't know.
They put a lot of effort.
That Blue Sub 6 game, it's a good looking game. Yeah, world of, like, eyeballs and weird picket fences and shit.
Weird traps that can do damage to your characters.
Creepy eyeball dogs that look like Resident Evil monsters, honestly.
And this is all getting up to entering a very large eyeball at the end of this realm, and watching a child turn into that boss from, as you guys pointed out, Ocarina of Time.
It is literally the boss from Jabu Jabu's Belly, Baronade. Yep. It is just a weird eyeball antenna monster.
Plus the fucking ads, the four weird
floating eyeball bats.
So this is by far the hardest thing in this game. I ended up getting it in my first playthrough, or my first attempt, and then the game crashed, and so I had to do this a second time.
That's right.
That would suck ass. Yeah, this took me 3 tries. I had to, clear what I need to do. It's like my level... either I need to, like, put on a level or two of these characters, or just find a way to deal with ads better, which eventually I did, because I was just like, oh, just AoE, just AoE, just AoE, just AoE. It's just AoE. Just use the AoE.
Yeah,
and I buffed everyone's defense stupid high, and then I just used AoE.
And also, Marek has that real cool thing where just the fire energy comes out of him, but you have to have a bunch of shit around him. I just would, like, truck him into the main boss and just, you're going to burst fire from your soul because you got that Bara energy. I can feel it in you. I can feel it in you. So he bursts fire, fire, set everything on fire. It's a lava level, but apparently everybody's weak to fire.
Yep. Counterintuitive.
I gave Millennia the skill that increased her magic damage and her fire damage. So,
but when she goes rage, she doesn't use that spell.
Nope. She uses zap.
Fuck that.
Which thankfully also is covered by that skill.
Yeah, I've got the Tenseiken slashes up reasonably high level too, so I can like target individual things for pretty good.
Ryudo not having an AoE option with his special abilities is a real bummer.
It is. Like, he's good for single target knockdown, which was useful just to have him like clean up the ads after they got AoE.
That's why I gave him the healing egg.
Yeah.
That's a decent idea.
I should maybe just rotate him into that. But again, I don't want them to be checks of all like, I don't know. Whatever. The right way, that's probably just the right move. Just lean in. Like, everyone should just be able to do it. Like, every one of those eggs has, like, basic healing spells on it, which seems odd. But, whatever.
Yeah, then you basically murder a child.
Yeah, which Millennia is very, like, coy about.
Oh, man, this is maybe my favorite character work in the entire game. Like, you have Sandra, who is Arya's. The little cursed eyeball girl is named Arya. Her mom is Sandra. Sandra's gone through great lengths to bring back, which there's something to say about the fact that her blindness is viewed as an impairment rather than something that is accommodated for. But this is back in the time when, you know, we didn't talk about that kind of shit with disabilities. So yep. I'm willing to move on from that. But this mom is pouring her heart out as she's watching her daughter basically die or go into a comatose state where it is assumed that she's gonna you just waste away bed sores and shit. But while she's having this heartfelt last word with her daughter, Millennia decides to go full bitch, like full chaotic evil. And I wrote this down when the mom asked Millennia what to do next. Her exact words are, ha, 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 die, end it. Then everyone else's life will be worth living. It's all your fault anyway. Besides, why should I care? Just, mwah. It's like, if you wanted a sense that Millennia might be planning something on the side, it might actually be evil. Like, this scene does a perfect job of that. And also, she has so much charisma in this scene. It's fantastic. I loved it.
Yeah. And then she kind of does the tsundere thing where she tells the mom, well, maybe if you tend this garden, maybe your daughter will come back. And later
Ryudo's like, what the fuck was that about? It's like, I don't know. You told me to make her feel good, so I made her feel good.
And he's like, don't try to con a con man.
Right.
So I appreciate that Ryudo just calls her on her bullshit. I appreciate that the characters are not, like, naive imbeciles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, even, well, we're getting into, I think, Roan's actually got more going on. Yes. So, return to normal city life after this sequence. Confront Selena and her, like, shitty night dudes and being like, yo, we took care of the problem. Like, we don't need to kill anyone anymore. We're good. Which has her, like, in basically a huff until other people in the city are like, you really don't, maybe we shouldn't all die. And she's like, for appearances, I guess I just won't kill you all now for fun. But I'm gonna tell Space Pope on you because you've been naughty. And then, slides off in was, I think, maybe the first really weird instance of, like, the character's walk animation is slower than the amount of distance they are covering, being dragged across the ground texture. Like, it looked like she was skating or something. It was really weird on a Dreamcast.
She has a really long skirt where I definitely felt like she was doing some sort of moonwalker shit.
Yeah, it was... I'm glad this registered for you guys, too. I was like, that looks kind of weird.
Yes.
But yeah, you are freed of this town, and you have solved all of their problems, like the good Ronin that you are. All that is between you and Space Pope now is a trip up a mountain, which is a very... For all the, like, relative linearity so far, this was kind of a hassle to get through, in a way.
This... Not only that, but, like, the characters take 2 breaks, to which I went ballistic when I was streaming this. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Why are we taking 2 breaks? You just had one.
Like... Aren't you supposed to, like, you're like level 26, you're a grown-up now. Like, just go. You gotta go. There's not that much to talk about, for fuck's sake. Like,
but Jeff and Braden, this is when we get to have the game's first attempts to graft on a relationship arc between Ryudo and Alana.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which just keeps
You gotta
going.
have your love interest. You gotta have your love plot.
Let's give credit. Mareg, pretty good wingman, can judge the temperature of the room, and it's like, yo, Rowan, let's go. Let's get some water. Let's fucking go.
And Rowan's like, I don't need help. And he's like, that's cool. I'll just tag along anyway. You know, it'll be a good time. Let's just go. Let's go. And Rowan's like, okay. Mareg's like, okay, Rowan. So when a man and a woman feel like probably gave him the talk, I like to imagine, but in his like very, very painful metaphor way.
Yeah.
Well, but then he kind of does, because then they get back and finds like 1,000 different ways to be like, oh, we definitely got lost. We got lost. Just got lost. That's why we were gone for a very long time. Because there's like one of these sketch conversation things that happens here.
We forgot to mention the weird point when Alana asks Ryudo to murder her.
Yes, that was at the end of the Eyeball Town. You're right. Because she is lamenting the fact that it's like, well, because, the demon inside of me is just eating other demons and is just going to become a full-on Walmart at some point. So
a Walmart of evil demon spirits.
Yeah, so just kill me will prevent that from happening, so just go for it. And,
proving that he's not the heartless murderer that you think he is, he refuses to kill her.
Yeah. And does it, as gently and calmly as possible by being like, why are you being a wuss about this? Like, embrace your fate or die like a dog, like the fucking Shadow the Hedgehog thing or whatever. Or is that Knuckles? It's one of them. Yeah. He doesn't kill the lady when she asks him to. That's he gets a gold star. He's a feminist now. I guess. Yeah, this environment is a bummer through these mountains in the sense that it's like, it is so there's like terrain that you're going up and through nominally, and the way that actually plays out is small maps that are interconnected by a series of tubes and tunnels through the ground.
Yeah.
That just keep on going in and out and in and out.
Yeah,
Mama
to pull
has
a quote from
box.
you, Jeff, I've pissed straighter lines than the levels in this game.
Yes.
Yep.
It's kind of, and like, who cares? But no, you keep on seeing shit down in this dungeon. It's like, well, where do I need to go in to get this thing? I want to be very clear. This takes maybe 20 to 30 minutes tops to actually get through, but it's the tedium of it and the fact that like all these underground areas all look and feel kind of the same. And at this point, you are very much in the big fire pillar AoE spell gets me through all of these fights immediately. And there's enough save crystals where I can just do this all day. So why is this here? Can we get to the fireworks show? But you do. Very shortly after, you're going to get to the fireworks show. But yeah, maybe we've worn out. I'm kind of hoping the structure of this game gets shaken up in a big way. I really, really hope that's going to happen. I have a sense it's not going to. But that would be cool. I would love that. We exit St. Heim Mountain area, which I was really hoping at least there'd be like a mid-boss or a mini-boss or something to fight at the end of this, but there's not. And we make it to the St. Heim Papal State. We finally made it to town, to Pope Town. We've made it to the
anime Vatican City.
Yes.
Yeah, this in particular really gave me some Final Fantasy X, but on a far lower budget vibes here, because this white ornate looking cathedral, which is the hilt of a sword, and there's a reason why the cathedral looks like the hilt of a sword. They're gonna hit us over the head real hard about that in a little bit.
It's really like, but it's structured like every other town you've been in.
Yeah,
like,
you have the inn and the merchant right next to it.
Yeah,
at the entrance.
There's like a central kind of ring and spoke structure where the spokes are just literally 4 houses. The big changes in the middle is there's a library now.
Did you check out this game's version of Chocobos?
Oh, the little pigs. Yeah.
The rat pigs.
Behind the hotel, behind the inn, is a field of weird little rat pigs that make, they're called like squeak oinks? Squeakums?
Squeakums, I don't know. I don't know.
They look like sheep, and they don't actually make a sound, but the game writes out a sound. Or do they make a sound? I don't remember. Anyway,
they make a sound.
They aren't that interactable, and the people around them just are like, yeah, these animals sure are cute. They make butter. We like it. Rita says something to the effect of, these are all just disgustingly cute. And then that's it. It feels okay. They put it there. They had a little extra space on the disc. And they're like, you know what? Someone drew this cute little sheep. Model it. It's cool. Can you rig this up? You don't need to. Just make it hop in place. That's good. All right. Moving on.
Yeah. I actually avoided the library just because it's like, fuck, this game really is going to make me read books in order to understand the lore.
But I see why it's there. Like, yeah, it's like maybe the most overwrought, droll way to get world lore across. I get that. But there's intention there because, like, the library is amongst, like the common people of this town. And it's like the scripture, for lack of a better word, but it's like let's say it is the new international version of the text. So it's
and the characters make that comment where it's like, when you read, especially when you spend some time in the actual cathedral's library and you read the story of the Battle of Good and Evil, even Ryudo makes a comment of, this is a lot different than what they tell us in church.
Yeah, like what they have up there is more like the Septuagint, I guess, or the
high liturgy.
What's the word? The Vulgate. There you go. The Latin Vulgate. The Septuagint is the Greek. Anyway, there's your Christian history for you, folks.
More of it.
Jeff in a past life. I have my Greek New Testament behind me. I should just go grab that. Should I just
Anime
that?
Pope, Jeff, eye on the prize. Anime Pope.
Anime Pope. Yeah. So Anime Pope is giving a lecture on
And this scene has actual voice acting, which kind of took me by surprise. It's been a long while.
It has been a moment. Yeah, like this. It's been not a talkie, I guess, for several hours. And it's not just Space Pope. It's him and
all of his little underlings.
Yeah. And
so Space Pope looks like a weird creeper guy. Boy, his character portrait really fucks me up.
someone who's gonna he's gonna have an evil expression and maybe be wearing black at some point.
I look forward to seeing Punish Zera's portrait picture.
Oh yeah, and this is where the pederasty joke comes in, because so Elena gets separated off and has an audience with Space Pope Zera, and then you're just sort of kicking it with Mareg and Rowan, and then a runner comes into the hotel you're kicking it at, and he's just like, "Yo, hey, Geohound, the Pope wants to talk to you," and you're like, "The fuck?" He's like, "Yeah, he wants a special audience. He has a special request. Gotta go." And then he's just like, "Man, special request? This sounds kind of dodgy." Or, forget the exact quote. "Sounds like the beginning of a bad joke," is the quote there. Huh. Okay. That's maybe the darkest thing in this game so far, in some sense. What do you think about what he's actually talking about there? Weird. It was the
comment.
Point, yeah, it was the point where I was like, Working Designs didn't do this, huh? Like, really? Because their spirit lives on in odd, off-color jokes about priests. Sigh. So yes, that's the context where you're running up to the cathedral. You see the speech, and then the Pope pulls you in for this audience and lays some theology on you, because it turns out when Granda more or less successfully won a fight against evil, even though evil seems able to revive itself, Granda got hurt real bad and is basically asleep. And
he's in torpor.
And there's concerns that if evil gets resurrected, if Walmart comes back, which I'm just gonna call Walmart now, he might not wake up, and we might actually be fucked. But lo, there's a solution, we think, we hope, because the sacred texts that you've been looking through refer to a weapon, the Granda sword. Granda saber, rather.
No, Jeff, Granda should have put more points in humanity, and maybe his torpor would have been just a couple of days.
Yeah, I understood that joke.
Yep, that's a World of Darkness.
Your World of Darkness goofs.
Oh, why versus new why.
Look forward to our Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines podcast in 30 years.
Hell yeah. So, this is your charge. It would be cool if you got this sword, which you then leave, and low-key, let's say Bishop Oro, who is hanging out, is like, what did the Pope talk to you about? And you just got no cool at all. You're just like, he told me to get some fucking sword. I don't know. And that dude's like, yo, that's a shit idea. You are definitely not qualified. And it's like, maybe if you had not spilled the beans, but of course he did. He's Ryudo. He has made out of the opposite of chill. And
he's a total dick to this, like, priest dude. At one point he's like, you know what, you've convinced me, I'm gonna do it, fuck you. And then he like starts talking to him like a dog. He's like, you're just gonna stay here, stay, good boy, stay.
Just
which means, you know, this guy's gonna fucking assign one of his goons to follow you. But yeah, I don't know, I actually kind of found Ryudo's lack of cool when interacting with church people kind of,
it does make me wonder,
kind of iconic in its own way.
Yeah.
You get the sense that he used to be someone who towed the line and got screwed over somehow.
It does make me wonder what the Japanese text of this was like, and if it's been like softened in a way. Because I think even at the point this was localized and released in the United States, like someone being like literally making jokes about like priests sodomizing people low-key and like just absolute mistrust of religious officials still would have been like a little controversial. Like if this had been in like a bigger game, would have probably been like, you know, a CNN talking point. I don't think Fox News existed yet. Just like, wow, there's a new game your kids can play where someone slags off the Pope. Like that's wow. Because it's pretty strong flavor in here. So yeah, I don't know. This, I guess, is just continuing the JRPG
Jeff,
tradition.
The only time that the Dreamcast was reported on news was Good Morning America.
Yes, in a FUBU jersey. By a real one.
Jeff can still feel Barbara Walters' touch on his thigh.
She just hasn't washed that thigh in 20 years. Baba Wawa.
All right. So what?
So
For whatever reason, the evil moon decides to make an appearance, which is one of the weirder appearances of Millennia so far. I don't understand what she gains from making an appearance here. I love the shading here. Like the look of Millennia with her wings in full, form, and she's standing in a red drenched kind of darkened cathedral room where we watch the Pope make a speech. It's a beautiful look, but I don't really understand why Millennia made an appearance here.
To progress the story and complicate things, I suppose. But, yeah.
We're going to find this. Yeah, this is Ryudo's quote. I don't think you've thought this through. See, when we find the sword, we're going to use it to stab evil people. And, I don't know. This, boy, howdy. I sure feel like we played a lot of this game and are only still, maybe there's not a lot of story here to get. Boy, I hope it speeds up that side of things. We still haven't seen Ryudo's brother, which I can only imagine is a huge story arc coming up.
Yeah, it seems like they would be larding in a little more Sephiroth-esque stuff with his brother along the way to breadcrumb that.
Oh, no, wait. We forgot the best part. The Grana saber has been lost, but it is currently in the possession of the Legion of Evil. Yes. Or the Legion of Darkness?
The Legion of Darkness is what all the scripture alludes to. The actual stuff that's in, the good stuff that's in with the Pope, not the stuff that's with the common people. And you get, as you're going through, Rowan keeps being like, and you're like, what are you huh-ing at, little kid? And he's like, nothing, definitely nothing. Like, every time you read about, like, darkness, and people talk about the other village, Cyrum, or Curum, I guess, if you want to be a Greek prick. And he's like, that seems interesting that there's a town over there, to me, specifically. And people are like, well, why is that interesting to you, Rowan? And he's like, no reason at all. Zero. It's like, clearly, I think these things might be connected, lads. I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah, who could say?
Zera's full name is Zera Innocentis.
Yes. Again, if Deep Listens adopts a best name category, which I think we should lobby for, that's in the running. It's amazing. His name may as well just be like Secret Evil Man. Like, it's very good. Valmar is also pretty damn good, but yeah. Zera Innocentis. Good stuff. That's, I guess, where we're going to hang it up for now. I'm inclined to just power through to the end of this.
I think we should just finish this.
I feel like we're setting ourselves up for a Xenosaga in a sense that I think this is maybe the halfway mark of this game, not the 2/3 mark. But I also think this game is not nearly as long. Like, my
story dense.
Yeah, my Dreamcast says 11 hours at this point. And some of that has been idle. So,
yep.
You guys, similar playtime. What levels are you at?
I don't know. Let me locate my last screen here.
My Steam says 10 hours.
10 hours. I am level 28.
Okay. There are walkthroughs that say by the time you get to the Mirumu, like the entire eyeball dungeon sequence, you should be level 30 before you even start that, which seems insane. Like, why you don't need
to grind.
You really don't. Like, this game gives you all of the experience you need without, like, having to go seek it out. And, like, there's no... I guess that's maybe the other thing, like, these games, by which I mean JRPGs, will, at this point, have introduced some sort of, like, side something. Like, anything. Like, a fucking card game or
there's
a
no
game.
Shitty card game like in Xenosaga.
But there's no anything. Like, it's very...
It feels
are either
stripped
in a
down.
town or you... Yes, very stripped.
And I don't know if I love or hate it. That it just... The only reason for exploring the environments that you encounter is if you feel obligated to interact with NPCs and talk to them and learn from them, right?
Sure.
Like, there's no mechanical reason for exploring the world.
Yeah, and, like, most of the rewards you get for exploring the, like, environments are money. And I have to tell you, I have 25,000 gold just sitting in my wallet. I've bought every armor and weapon upgrade, which I then find stuff in the environment which is better than what I can buy. Like, you don't need to use a ton of items outside of, like, the occasional healing thing when you're just really jonesing for a heal. It's back to the initial criticism of this game's just kind of easy. I think this is just like a knock-on effect of that. Like, money is just kind of worthless. Like, I wish I could do something like spend that money to get more magic coins or special coins to level up what actually matters, which is like the eggs and the books or the abilities, because otherwise it's just kind of sitting there unused.
Mm-hmm.
Balance things are weird. It's simple, and I think the novelty of this combat has kind of worn off because I have now just rocked it completely. Like, I almost kind of appreciated that iBoss being something of a challenge because it made me sort of think about using the mechanics of the game a little bit. Yeah, it's simple. It's remarkable that this is probably the second best JRPG on the Dreamcast, because that says something about the Dreamcast, I guess. I don't know.
I forget if Jeff is making a Shenmue reference or not.
No, I think he's talking about Skies of Arcadia.
Skies of Arcadia?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would play Shenmue over this, but I'm broken in a way that Shenmue...
You're a sick man.
Shenmue is one of my favorite games, so I'm that asshole.
I've never played Skies of Arcadia.
Nor I. So it's ready to go.
Neither have I.
I got the save. There's a compiled like disc that you can burn or load onto a mode that just has a bunch of saves on it, and it includes the DLC that was released for that game. So I now have access to that again, and we'll be playing Skies of Arcadia with that loaded up and ready to go. But we're a ways from that. Again, don't do what I did. Just be normal. Buy this game on Steam or PS4 or Switch or whatever the fuck. Spend like $20 on it. It's okay. It's remains okay. I'm still having a good time. Do we want to keep playing this?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Let's finish this quickly.
Yeah.
I am less hot on this game than I was last time, unfortunately.
I'm with you. I feel the same. I have been inclined.
I should have played on hard.
Or I mean, I'm okay with it being an easier time if like we got weird JRPG hijinks by now.
Weird, or like, yeah, the excess I expect from this era.
Yeah, we got a little bit of that with Eyeball Girl, and I just want more of that. I want more of that rush.
Oh,
I mean, like get on that whale.
The weird shit in this game when it happens is very good, but like I'm not seeing the overwrought, like there are way too many systems here where there's way too many random little things that the developers like. This is a Spartan ass JRPG, especially compared to, Xenosaga, the most excessive of JRPGs.
The thing that this makes me want to check out, and it's like in the same mental tier, I guess, for me, is like Wild Arms 3, probably, which is like roughly contemporaneous, I think, but just like, I think changes things up a little more. It's not, and that's...
I'll play Wild Arms 3. That's the one on PSN.
Oh yeah, that's on PS4.
Isn't that the one your significant other has nostalgia for?
She made me buy 2 at some point.
Okay.
As a PS1 classic, and played about 20 minutes of it, and she's like, this is not going to be for me anymore. It's like, You want to just give me $6? What the fuck? Anyway. Okay, well, we will meet again and talk more about Grandia II, the last chunk of it. So if you are playing along, first of all, you need Jesus. You need some milk. Second of all, just play it to the end, and we'll be back in a couple weeks talking about Grandia II. Thank you, if you've gotten so far. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Off the Deep End. A member of the Deep Listens family. As mentioned at the top, if you have questions, concerns, comments, if you want to talk to me about the Hakuho versus Teruno Fuji fight that ended the Nagoya Basho, which was a very good match, Teruno Fuji will be the 73rd Yokozuna as a result of this tournament. I'm gonna get Sumo talk into this show. Or if you want me to shut up, inquiries at deep.lol. That's inquiries at deep.lol.
Inquiries at deep.lol.
Yes, LOL.
Email me about how good Wizards and Warriors is. Have any of you played Wizards and Warriors? No, I'm not talking about the NES game. Talk about the CRPG that came out the week after Baldur's Gate 2, which is why you haven't heard of it.
One of those famous, like Sin, Episode 1, just eclipsed games.
Send me emails about Sword Art Online. I'll answer all of your emails.
Who's your favorite girl in Sword Art Online? Is it the one with the disposable personality?
That's all of them. And I think you're making a point.
When you were having premarital sex, I was studying the Sword Art Online.
They have virtual... Never mind.
If you want to...
have a virtual baby.
For more jokes like that, you could kick into the Patreon. That's patreon.com/deeplistens. Just any dollar amount gets you access to a Discord where you can holler at us. Special shout out once again to SuperSex420 for the track Halfway that opens and closes this show. This and other great tracks by SuperSex420 are available on Bandcamp.com. See you next time. And remember,
God made you special and he loves you very much.
That's oddly apropos and we're going to go with it. Granas made you special and he loves you very much. Even you, Ryudo. Bye.
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 This episode of Off the Deep End was recorded and edited on the traditional and ancestral territory of the Nisqually or Nisqually people, who have lived on and stewarded these lands and waters since times immemorial.